I never thought I'd be the CEO who'd let two young men unravel my control to save their place in my empire. My name's Victoria, and this is my confession, raw and unfiltered, a story of desire so sharp it sliced through my authority and left me in chaos. If you're watching, you're already hooked, caught in a sin that feels like power until it's a chain around your heart. This isn't about love or redemption. It's about temptation, the kind that blinds you and dares you to fall. Stay with me because this one's going to unravel you. It's a tale of ambition, lust, and a choice I couldn't escape. It was a stormy September evening in Chicago, Illinois, the air electric with rain and corporate stakes. I was 40, the CEO of Apex Dynamics, a marketing firm facing cuts to stay afloat. Two new hires, Miles, 27, a charming strategist with a wicked smile, and Julian, 29, a data analyst with quiet intensity, were on the chopping block. Only one could stay. They were brilliant, hungry, and dangerous, their presence a spark in my sleek office tower. That night, I called them to my corner office for a final review, the city skyline glinting through the rain-streaked windows. I wore a tailored blazer, my hair pinned up, my authority a shield. Miles leaned back, his tie loose, his green eyes bold. Julian stood closer, his glasses reflecting the desk lamp, his dark eyes piercing. Their tension was palpable, a silent battle for survival. Then Miles spoke, his voice low. "We'd do anything to stay, Victoria," he said, his gaze locking on mine, a spark that hit like lightning. The office was dim, the storm raging, the air heavy with whiskey and ambition. Julian stepped closer, his hand brushing mine as he handed me a report, his touch deliberate, electric. "You're the one who decides," he said, his voice soft but daring, his eyes flicking to my lips. I told myself to stay professional, to choose based on merit, but their presence, their hunger, it was too much. My breath caught as Miles moved nearer, his blazer, brushing my arm, outlining a strength I tried not to see. "You're playing with fire," I said, my voice steady, but my pulse betrayed me. Miles smirked, leaning closer, his breath warm. "You're the flame," he said, his tone a challenge. Julian's hand grazed my wrist, a spark that set my nerves alight. The question hung a storm, igniting a fire I'd buried under years of control. I didn't answer, but my silence was a confession. Their smiles were slow, dangerous, like they'd already claimed me. The office was a fortress, the city outside forgotten, the rain relentless. Miles's hand slid to my waist, his fingers warm through the silk, a spark that burned through my resolve. Julian's touch followed his fingers, grazing my neck, their eyes daring me to fall. "Tell us to stop," Miles whispered, his lips close, his breath hot with whiskey and want. I didn't. My hands found Julian's chest, the cotton soft, then Miles's arm, their pulses strong. The storm roared the night alive, and I was already lost. Their kisses were a tempest, fierce and overlapping, tasting of whiskey and sin. Miles's lips claimed mine first, hungry, while Julian's trailed my jaw, their hands bold on my hips. The desk was cool behind me, their bodies a wall of heat. The night pulsed, the rain relentless, as their lips moved, each touch a pulse of pleasure and power. I was drowning, and they were the tide pulling me into a sea of want. The company, my duty, faded, leaving only them, their heat, my hunger. Their kisses were a wildfire burning through my iron will. Miles's hands were bold, tugging at my blazer, his fingers grazing my skin through the silk. The office was a haze, the city lights casting shadows that danced like devils. My hands roamed Julian's chest, the cotton slipping, revealing skin that burned under my touch. The storm's rhythm matched my racing heart, the air thick with whiskey and desire. Their lips were everywhere, Miles on my mouth, Julian on my throat, each kiss, a claim, each touch a code shattered. I pulled them toward a private lounge, the office's executive suite, its glass door shielding us from the world. My blazer was gone, discarded in the haze, revealing lace that made their breaths catch. My hands slid lower, tracing Miles's belt, Julian's hips, their gasps sharp in the quiet space. The guilt was there, cold and sharp, but my power, the choice to save one, fueled every touch, every move. Their hands were on my thighs, sliding under the lace, their fingers leaving trails of fire. The lounge was our world, the storm a distant roar. I pressed against the couch, their bodies surrounding me, the lace a tease I couldn't control. Miles's lips found mine again, hungry, demanding, while Julian's hands roamed their touches, a dance of want. My hands slid under their shirts, their skin warm and taut, their breaths hitching as my fingers explored. The city lights flickered, painting us in silver and shadow, turning our sin into something almost beautiful. But it wasn't. It was raw, reckless, a collision of need and betrayal. Victoria. Julian murmured my name, a spell echoed by Miles's low groan. My fingers tangled in their hair, my body arching into theirs, a demand they couldn't resist. The night was suffocating, the storm relentless. As their hands gripped me, their closed barriers I wanted to tear away. The pleasure was building a storm of its own, raw and relentless, edged with the guilt of abusing my power. When it happened, it was a collision, a wave crashing over us. Their groans were sharp, muffled by the lounge walls, my hands holding them close, our bodies moving as one. The pleasure was fierce, overwhelming, a betrayal that felt like conquest. The couch creaked, the night heavy with our heat, my sin unfolding. The office stood still, indifferent, as I crossed a line I'd meant to control. It was everything, every ache, every want, every secret I'd buried. Afterward, we stayed there, tangled, breathless, the air heavy with the scent of whiskey and us. Miles's hand rested on my hip, Julian's on my shoulder, their eyes dark with satisfaction and conflict. The guilt crashed in a deluge, but their warmth held it at bay, a lie I wanted to believe. "Who stays?" Miles asked, his voice rough, unconvincing. I smiled, slow and wicked, my lips brushing his ear. "I haven't decided," I said, and I meant it. The Chicago storm lingered, and so did the weight of my actions. I left the lounge, my blazer back on, their scents, whiskey and sin clinging to me. The next day, I faced Miles and Julian in a boardroom, their eyes catching mine, their reports flawless. I tried to be the CEO. They feared my voice sharp, my decisions cold, but their touches haunted me, their faces in every shadow, every dream. The guilt was a beast clawing at me, but their fire burned brighter, a flame I couldn't douse. I saw them again at a late-night strategy session, their eyes bold across the table. The team was gone, the office quiet, and they stayed, their presence a pull I couldn't resist. Julian spoke first, his voice low. "You're not just choosing a job," he said, his hand grazing my arm, reigniting the spark. I told myself to stay in control, to make the cut based on merit, but my body betrayed me. Miles texted later, midnight. "Your penthouse." I went, the night thick with rain, their silhouettes waiting in the dark. The penthouse was sleek, the air heavy with city lights and desire, their shirts discarded, their skin glowing in the neon glow. Their kisses were fiercer now, desperate hands tearing at my dress. My hands roamed their bodies, greedy, memorizing every muscle, every shudder. The rain's hum hid our sin, but the guilt was sharper, a blade I couldn't outrun. Their lips found my throat, my chest, their touches brands I'd never erase. My CFO, Rachel, grew suspicious. "You're off, Victoria," she said, her eyes searching mine. I froze her loyalty, a contrast to my betrayal. Just pressure. I lied, my voice tight, my mind flashing to the penthouse, their hands on my skin. Her frown deepened, and I feared she saw the truth. "You built this company," she said, and the words were a weight crushing me. They pushed further. "Choose me," Miles said, his voice rough, Julian echoing, their hands gripping mine in the penthouse. "Choose one, save the company, but burn my soul." The idea was madness, but I saw it a life with them, wild and free. Then Rachel's face flashed her trust, and I pulled away, trembling, my power wavering. I told them it was over. They stood in the penthouse, their eyes blazing, their shirts open. "You need us both," Julian said, his voice a challenge. They left a pen behind, engraved with their initials, tucked into my desk. I should have thrown it away, but I kept it a secret that scorched. The Chicago rain lingered, and so did my hunger, a fire I couldn't quench. Rachel confronted me. "What's this?" she asked, holding the pen, her voice cold. I froze, my sin unraveling, her trust a mirror of my guilt. I confessed not all but enough, admitting I'd crossed a line with Miles and Julian. She froze, her face pale, and threatened to report me, her voice steady but broken. I chose Julian, his data skills critical, and cut Miles, my heart heavy. I was alone, the pen in my hand, their sense a ghost I'd never escape. This is my story, a warning to anyone who thinks they can wield fire and not get burned. If you've watched this far, you know that hunger, that ache for what you shouldn't take. So hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, call me a queen, a sinner, or just a boss who fell. Like the video or don't, but share it with someone who's felt temptation's sting. Check out my other stories, they're just as raw, just as real. Ever chased a forbidden spark? Spill your secrets below, I'm listening and I've been there.